Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody, and congratulations to IFPRI, which I make extensive to the CGIAR, organizations where I have shared so much for so many years. And let me go to my point. Claudia's presentation shows and suggests that in spite of the great advances we have made in the last few years, international agriculture still has two main problems: how to produce sufficiently for food security demands, and secondly, how we do that sustainably. And she has also raised two questions: what we do, and where and on what we invest, and the need to attain those two main objectives. Let me say, I had a graph there. Okay. So I want to present two main points, and following or address two main issues, and following the suggestions, or I should say the instructions of Rajul, as usual, I will try to present two topics that might generate discussions in the panel. It might be controversial. The first point is that the level of prices and the volatility of food prices in the future, and probably already now, but in the next 10 or 15 years, will depend on the productive behavior of a rather small number of countries. And as you can see in the graph, 10 countries, 4 from the southern cone of Latin America, 5 from Southeast Asia, and Ukraine, represent more than 50% of net food exports in the world. Consequently, what those 10 countries do from a productive point of view will greatly affect food security in a global perspective. So I think that it is important for the agriculture international community to focus the attention on how we can help those countries to use their enormous natural resources endowments in an efficient, effective, and at the same time sustainable manner. And this will take, I think, a lot of work, technology transfer, and probably investment. Of course, Kim is looking at me, and Australia is also important. You can see it in the graph. But anyway, these 10 countries that I mentioned are countries that are developing countries. And thus, although they will have a great impact on global food security, they will require international support, help, and let's say help. So that's my first point. This, of course, has some implications too in the things we study, we do, and maybe also what the concentration of IFPRI's work, in the sense that these, at least these 10 countries, but some others, I think should deserve a very special consideration. My second point is that more recently, a third challenge has emerged. And the challenge is the restrictions imposed by climate change requirements. In 2 weeks, the world will be discussing in Paris, in the context of COP21, what are we going to do on a global perspective on mitigation and adaptation. If you carefully read the draft agreement, you can see there's in my mind, a great emphasis on mitigation, and at the same time a great emphasis on mitigation in agriculture. And agriculture is the only specific productive sector that is mentioned in Article 3. So there is, I think, a perspective, or at least a political intention, or at least a perspective, that mitigation should be also done very extensively or very intensively in agriculture. My reflection is that I think that this should be a main issue for us. I would say a concern, something we look very carefully, because mitigation in agriculture, of course, will have trade-offs with productivity, with production. it will have different impacts in different regions in the world. Thus, of course, mitigation needs to be part of our plan of work, one of our concerns, one of the things we need to work. But in my feeling, this needs to be very carefully analyzed in terms of the trade-offs internally within agriculture, the trade-offs between regions, and the trade-offs between agriculture and other productive sectors that probably have a much bigger impact on gas emissions and climate change. So these two issues, I think, are something that are not always in the agenda of discussion, and I think that they should be raised into the top, to the very top. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Excellent points on the very high importance of a small number of countries in terms of global food productivity, and then also the importance of climate and mitigation.